I am going to completely bypass the traditional intro today and jump straight into the deep, incredibly dark cinematic lore of Earth-838. I really want to set a serious, almost investigative tone for this breakdown, because what we are about to explore together isn't just some simple plot thread. It is a meticulously crafted master plan of literal multiversal proportions. We are looking at the grand blueprint of Dr. Doom himself. We're going to understand exactly which universe he actually originates from, how he manages to accrue the unimaginable power required to shatter reality itself, and how he ultimately forges Battleworld. The sheer scale of the multiversal stakes here absolutely cannot be overstated. We are talking about the deliberate, coldly calculated extinction and resurrection of trillions of lives. So let me explain this step by step, drawing the vital connections between the realities we've seen and the devastating cosmic events that are rapidly approaching.
Okay, let's dive right in by taking a very close, highly detailed look at Earth-838. Think back to when we first saw this reality. It presented itself as this flawlessly clean, highly advanced, absolutely utopian society. Now, I want you to contrast that with the grim, messy realities of Earth-616. Right? On 616, citizens are basically constantly looking up at the sky in absolute terror, just waiting for the next Avengers-level destruction, the next alien invasion, or the next crumbling city. But on Earth-838, there is absolutely none of that chaos. There is just this eerie, artificial quiet. Even the ultimate threat, Thanos, was handled quietly, behind closed doors, by a secret committee. But I have to ask you a crucial question here. What if this perfect utopia was actually just a rough draft? What if this pristine, unbreakable peace was actually an illusion of freedom, hiding a much darker absolute control orchestrating everything from the shadows? And that question fundamentally illustrates the true nature of Earth-838. From the outside looking in, it is beyond perfect. Doctor Strange is revered as a martyr and a hero, complete with his own towering statue, and the Illuminati sit as this elite, unseen hand managing impossible world-ending threats. But this exact vibe, this sterilized, flawless security, perfectly mirrors the infamous One World Under Doom scenario. In that reality, Doom completely erased borders. He ended all wars overnight. He provided free health, education, and universal prosperity. The citizens literally believed they were living in a flawless paradise. The only difference is that on Earth-838, this Doom-style absolute order was likely implemented quietly. He brilliantly used the established heroes as an unwitting shiny front for his absolute control.
Now, to really grasp the big picture, we have to heavily contrast Earth-838 with another incredibly important reality, Earth-828. Let me break down the aesthetics and, more importantly, the vulnerability of this specific world for you. Earth-828 operates as a vibrant, retro-futuristic 1960s-style reality. It's bright, it's optimistic, and the Fantastic Four are the sole premier superheroes there. They don't have a massive militarized Avengers roster to call for backup. They don't have thousands of sorcerers to rely on. It's literally just a family of four up against the great unknown. And very importantly, their fragile reality has recently faced its very first major cosmic villain, the world devourer himself, Galactus. Keep this distinct, vulnerable 60s reality firmly in your mind, because the bridge between this specific world and the pristine order of Earth-838 is the absolute key to this entire grand design.
Section 1. The missing Illuminati member. Let's transition our narrative right into the heart of the mysterious Illuminati chamber on Earth-838, because inside that pristine, imposing hall, there is a glaring anomaly that has been hiding in plain sight this entire time, a detail so incredibly subtle, yet so massive, that it completely unlocks the true identity of the mastermind pulling the strings. I have meticulously analyzed that Illuminati compound, and I need you to picture the vast chamber with me. Let's methodically break down the known members present. We have Captain Marvel representing space. We have Professor Xavier representing mutants. Black Bolt stands for the Inhumans. Mordo represents the Sorcerers. Captain Carter is the voice of the Avengers. And Reed Richards represents the Fantastic Four. That is 6 defined categories, 6 powerful leaders, yet, if you look closely at the physical seating arrangement on the dais, there's an empty 7th chair. So the crucial point we need to figure out is, who does that empty chair truly belong to? My unyielding deduction here is that the 7th chair belongs to none other than Dr. Doom himself. Let me explain the undeniable evidence behind this. In that exact same Illuminati compound, we are shown functioning, perfectly subservient Ultron-style sentry bots. But I want you to think about this critically for a second. In no known cinematic universe has Tony Stark ever successfully built a functional, non-homicidal Ultron entirely on his own without massive, catastrophic failure. Stark's ego always leads to flawed, volatile, arrogant AI.
He needed a darker, colder, more disciplined genius to perfect the code. Doom's calculating nature demands perfect, unquestioning servitude. Those sentries weren't Stark's ultimate success. They were early, stripped-down prototypes of Doombots. Doom was the seventh member, operating the entire world's security architecture from the shadows.
Section 2. Galactus and Power Cosmic. Let's shift our focus to the massive cosmic event that acts as the deadly bridge between these two universes. This is the exact catalyst required for Dr. Doom's ultimate ascension from a hidden planetary ruler to a literal multiversal god. Let's trace the chronological fate of Galactus to see how these puzzle pieces fit perfectly together. On Earth-838, the Fantastic Four faced Galactus, but here is the vital logic we really have to follow. They didn't kill him. A cosmic entity of that magnitude, if merely injured and left floating around in the same universe, would inevitably return to consume them. Yet the Fantastic Four were completely relaxed, acting as if the threat was permanently eradicated. This points to absolute hubris on their part. They banished him. They teleported him entirely out of their reality, thinking they had neatly solved the problem, when in fact they merely handed a loaded cosmic gun to a dictator in another universe. Because this dying, banished world devourer crash-landed directly into the lap of Earth-838. Just picture this incredibly dramatic sequence of events. Dr. Doom, the hidden, calculating genius of Earth-838, locates this dying cosmic entity bleeding out in his reality, and instead of destroying him, Doom does what he has always done best. He takes the absolute power for himself. He absorbs the raw, unfathomable power cosmic directly from Galactus. The sheer magnitude of this act simply cannot be understated. This influx of boundless energy fundamentally rewrites Doom's biology and his mind, granting him ultimate multiversal knowledge. Suddenly, his vision violently expands beyond his single utopian Earth to encompass the infinite realities. And crucially, this cosmic awareness is exactly how he discovers the existence of a reality-altering child named Franklin Richards, safely tucked away back on Earth-828.
Section 3. The Incursion Strategy.
Having gained this terrifying cosmic omniscience, Doom's entire perspective shifts. I will now explain the terrifying realization Doom comes to regarding the decaying, fragile state of the multiverse, and more specifically, his very own home reality. If we step into the hyper-intelligent mind of Dr. Doom for a moment, he looks out at the grand tapestry of infinite realities and realizes a grim, undeniable truth. The multiverse is a disease. It is inherently, violently unstable. And worse, his pristine Earth-838 is already fatally infected. Remember Earth-616's Doctor Strange and a rampaging Scarlet Witch violently invaded 838. Their brutal interference, their murders, and their dreamwalking fundamentally destabilized the fabric of that reality. A slow burn incursion had already begun. The perfectly ordered world Doom had secretly built over decades was starting to violently collide with another, and it was entirely because of the sloppy, emotional interference of outsiders.
Faced with the absolute, mathematically inevitable destruction of his entire universe, Doom makes a chillingly pragmatic calculation. He realizes that he absolutely cannot stop the incursion. The disease is terminal. So he decides to weaponize the destruction itself. Instead of letting reality die randomly and agonizing cosmic fire, he orchestrates a controlled collapse. He begins carefully selecting specific, surviving regions from dying universes. Just imagine the absolute horror of this for a second. He is gathering remnants from across the multiverse, plucking cities from burning timelines, perhaps even pulling from completely ruined zombie realities. He is mashing these disparate, chaotic fragments together into one barely manageable planet, with the singular goal of stitching them together to form an entirely new world entirely under his iron fist. Now, to actually execute this massive controlled collapse, Doom initiates what I like to call the false hope protocol. He knows he needs immense intellectual and technological help, so he crosses realities to Earth-828 and approaches that universe's Reed Richards. I want you to really emphasize the sheer sociopathy required for this moment. Doom looks Reed Richards directly in the eye and deceptively convinces him to collaborate on building massive incursion cannons. He sells them as savior devices meant to push back and permanently stop incursions. But this is a masterful, utterly dark lie. Doom convinces the greatest heroes across the multiverse to manually plant these devices across different realities, only to eventually use them as detonators. He is triggering a synchronized, controlled multiversal explosion designed specifically to wipe the slate clean and forge his new empire, Battleworld.
Section 4. Building the Battle World. So we have seen the grand multiversal scale of his plan, but underneath all of this logic and cosmic survival instinct lies something much darker. Let's move into the final stages of his master plan and expose the deeply personal, incredibly petty vengeance that is hidden flawlessly beneath Doom's guise of multiversal salvation. You see, Doom understands human psychology just as intimately as he understands cosmic physics. He knows that Earth-616's Doctor Strange is the man directly responsible for causing the initial fatal incursion on Earth-838. So Doom tracks down Strange and weaponizes his crushing guilt. He doesn't just destroy Strange, he psychologically breaks and manipulates him. By holding the bloody destruction of an entire universe over Strange's head, Doom forces the Sorceress Supreme into absolute servitude. Strange's guilt becomes the true chains binding him, proving that guilt, when applied by a mastermind, is the ultimate lever of absolute control.
But what he does to Reed Richards is his cruelest, most intensely methodical act of all. Because for Doom, simply killing Earth-828's Reed Richards isn't nearly enough. It lacks poetry, you know? It lacks the sting of total humiliating victory. Instead, his plan is absolute erasure and theft. He plans to steal Reed's wife, Sue, and his immensely powerful son, Franklin, pulling them into Battleworld and brainwashing them to believe they are Doom's very own flesh and blood. You really have to understand the sheer tragedy here. Franklin Richards, potentially the most powerful reality-warping being in existence, is reduced to a brainwashed pawn playing house with a tyrant. This fulfills his deeply petty vengeance against Reed, while simultaneously neutralizing the one singular being who actually possesses the raw power to undo Doom's reality. When we finally look at the insignia inextricably associated with this new reign, we must recognize the true, terrifying scope of what it actually represents. This is not merely the flag of Latveria, a small, isolated European nation on a single Earth. No, the crest we see is the absolute symbol of his boundless multiversal regime. It echoes his ultimate ascension from the shadows into the blinding light of total dominion. He is no longer just Dr. Doom. He has positioned himself as the God-Deemer of Battleworld, a sovereign ruler who stitched the broken fabric of reality back together with his bare hands, and in return demands total, unthinking, unquestioning submission from every single survivor across the remains of every broken universe.
Section 5. The Final Moral Dilemma.
As I bring this deep dive breakdown toward its climax, we must fiercely confront the ultimate philosophical conflict lying at the very heart of this newly forged battleworld. Doom's plan isn't just about cosmic explosions and sorcery, it fundamentally challenges the morality of the few heroes who managed to survive the collapse with their memories completely intact. I want you to vividly picture the reality of Battleworld exactly as Doom designed it. It is a terrifyingly perfect new world. Look at the shining cities. Billions of people are living in absolute, unbothered peace. There is no war. There is no poverty. There is no starvation. The apocalyptic disease of the multiverse has been permanently cured. However, the true cost is total, unbreakable mental subjugation. The citizens have been completely stripped of their true pasts. They live a manufactured lie, entirely unaware of the trillions of lives and countless universes that were detonated to pave the pristine streets they walk on. It is a flawless utopia built entirely on the ashes of true memory.
Which leaves us with this massive, thought-provoking question to end this breakdown. Imagine you are one of the very few heroes who actually remembers the truth. You remember the Lost Worlds, you remember the Grand Deception, and you remember exactly what kind of monster Doom really is. But you look around and you see a world entirely without suffering. Do you shatter a perfect, painless world, risking the lives of billions and inviting back the chaos of the multiverse just for the sake of freedom? Do you destroy a peaceful utopia just so people can have the painful truth? It's a devastating dilemma that will totally divide the greatest heroes, and it is exactly the kind of impossible, soul-crushing choice a true mastermind forces you to make.